Hello, buddy. Welcome back to the Tin Man Score channel. I'm your host, Jeffrey Tin Man Taylor, and today I'm reading a chapter out of my North Carolina Ghosts and Legends book by Nancy Roberts, and this was called The Little Red Man. Here's a little sentence describing what's going on there. The cellar of the brothers' house at Old Salem was once haunted by a playful ghost. So that sets the mood for all of you. It was March 25th of the year 1786. Just 13 years earlier, the first Moravians had settled in Salem. Single brother Andreas Crimser stood looking with quiet pleasure across the sunken garden behind the brothers' house. For some years now, he had lived here with the other unmarried men of the religious community. Like his companions, he prayed, he sang, cooked, worked at his trade of shoemaker, and occasionally gardened. Andreas looked at the lovely shades of the flowers made more brilliant by the glow of twilight. His thoughts went back to his boyhood in Pennsylvania. The long-forgotten odor of spring lilacs was strong about him. He remembered his bitter longing for the parents he had never known. At the age of 3, he had been placed in a home and school for little boys. Right off the bat right there, that's just sad. Because you don't know who your real parents are, and then they just place you in a home for boys. Andreas was just 16 when he had left Pennsylvania to carve out his future as a shoemaker in North Carolina. For brief intervals, he had done kitchen work and even swept chimneys. But chimney sweeping was not for him, and he recalled that task was irritation. I bet. Because you're getting all that soot in your face and in your clothes. How ridiculous to criticize his chimney sweeper just because there has been an epidemic of measles. Yet that is just what had happened. But he had told them, the mayor, the civic leaders, and anybody else who criticized his chimney sweeping, the chimneys were miserably constructed, and there were too many for any one man to sweep. His thoughts returned abruptly to the present, and he realized it was almost dark. He must get ready to attend evening services. That night after worship, he felt wakeful and restless. There was excavating in progress in the cavernous deep cellar of the house where an addition was planned. Perhaps he should work for a while before retiring. It was only about 11. The cellar's depths were cold and damp. There were no windows, and the brothers worked by the light of the flickering candles. Taking up a shovel, he joined the others. They cast long, eerie shadows as they worked to hollow out a place under the clay bank. It was easier to work on his knees. Andreas scarcely heard the warnings of those watching that the bank was almost ready to go. Suddenly, there was a shout. "Jump back! It's breaking off!" The men threw themselves backward, but Andreas, still on his knees, could not rise in time. It seemed as if tons of damp, smothering earth descended on him. With frantic efforts, his fellow workers managed to dig him out. His left leg crumpled beneath him, and his whole body felt numb with pain. Brother Lewis, who was a doctor, gently removed Andreas' red jacket. He opened a vein in the wounded man's left arm, but little blood would flow. At about 2 o'clock, the blessing of the church was bestowed upon him. Shortly afterward, the spirit of Andreas Crimser left his body. From that day on, the brothers would oftentimes hear a sound like the tap, tap, tap of a shoemaker's hammer. Each would glance quickly over his shoulder, but never saw the shoemaker at work. Occasionally, as they walked through the shadowy basement passageways, the last of a red coat would sit around the curve just ahead. "There goes Crimser," one brother would whisper to another. Finally, there became less and less need for a home for unmarried brothers. The last of the brothers moved out, and for a while families made their home there. A few years later, the church used the house for widows of the congregation. Halls which once rang with the songs of the young men now listened to the muted voices of elderly ladies, reminiscent of their youth. And here's a picture of one of the halls leading towards the basement. A child visiting her grandmother ran to tell her Betsy saw a little man out there and he did this. The little girl crooked her finger to show how a hand had beaconed to her. Almost like that. Some of the old ladies told of glimpsing in a little man with a friendly smile, but their stories were shrugged off with amusement. Then one day, a prominent man of the community was showing a friend through the old cellar. As they went, he related the story of the little red man. Both were highly amused. It was not until they turned to leave that all at once, out of nowhere, there he stood. With his arms outspread, the two men tried to corner him. They closed in only to grasp empty air. Eluding them, he reappeared at the end of the gloomy chamber and grinned merrily. Several years later, a visiting minister ended the career of the little red man forever. In invocation to the Trinity and the words, "Little red man, go to rest," exorcised the friendly chap who hasn't been seen since. Wow. Not that spooky, but if I did see somebody that looked like they wanted to give me a hug or something, when I go to them and they just turn to air, like cloud smoke, I would not know how to explain it until I see him appear somewhere else and I'll be like, yep, it's a ghost. But then the fact that they had to go do an exorcism and get rid of him, I'm like, why? He didn't cause no harm. Unless they figured he was ready to go to heaven. So they were able to open the spiritual passageway for him. Now I know he's at peace finally. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on post notifications for more book reading content like this. This has been another successful installment of the Tin Man's Corner channel. I'm your host, Jeffrey Tin Man Taylor. I said that's a wrap, and that's the deal.